I invite you now to relax. Feel the evening air, gentle and soothing, as you settle into your place of rest. Imagine the gentle echo of your footsteps on smooth cobblestones, each tap guiding you deeper into calm. She pauses, gazing skyward, where stars shimmer like quiet lanterns. You breathe in and breathe out, and with each exhale, feel yourself drifting further into ease. Feel that same sense of softness settle in your mind, the gentle openness, like parchment waiting for ink, a soft breeze carrying the scent of lavender and fresh dew brushes your skin. Our story today begins in the courtyard of a grand chateau where limestone walls are bathed in moonlight. As you walk, you notice the silhouette of a young Eleanor, Princess of Aquitaine, her cloak brushing mossy stones. Exhale tension. With every breath, you draw in the calm of medieval night air and let go of any lingering thoughts of the day. Notice how it reminds you of the slow unfolding of sleep. As we follow Eleanor's slow, thoughtful steps, take a moment to breathe with her. Inhale deeply, exhale gently. Inhale peace. Each petal glimmers with dew, cool against the evening. Eleanor leans closer and inhales their scent, soft, sweet, and dreamy. Warm torchlight flickers across tapestries that depict hunting scenes and courtly dances. As his words drift through branches, your mind drifts with them. Gentle imagery of rivers glinting under moonlight, reeds rustling softly, fish gliding through calm waters, drifting into your mind, encouraging every thought to soften and dissolve into calm petals. She hums one line, then another, and the gentle rhythm of her song becomes ours too, letting our breathing follow its cadence. A lullaby of peace. Wrong queen. She smiles at the memory of her grandfather, the troubadour poet William IX of Aquitaine, singing in this very hall. He sang of gentle love, of rivers and stars, weaving lullabies for his granddaughter. You feel soothed by the warm orange glow, the hush of distant footsteps, the faint scent of smoked timber, the only sounds, distant night birds, a whisper of wind, the soft settling of fire embers. Even here, beneath calm skies, her heart hums quietly with possibility, the way a page is ready for writing. Our story continues as Eleanor glides through the courtyard and enters a vaulted hall, gently to the earth below, supported, grounded, ready for rest. With each breath, allow your mind to repeat a soft phrase, like a lullaby. Eleanor's voice is soft but clear as she whispers a lullaby. Her nurse taught her a melody known to calm restless hearts. Stars twinkle faintly through high lancet windows, each shimmering point like a gentle hush. Let your mind follow one star, drifting upward, drifting outward, weightless and free. As you walk alongside Eleanor, she pauses to brush her fingers across an ancient silver reliquary box. Inside lies a small relica portion of flax the Virgin Mary herself was said to spin. Inside, a single candle flickers on a table of oak. Its light dances on polished surfaces and soft furs. In the 12th century, flax spinning was a quiet art of patience, and linen made from such flax was thought to bring protection and peace. Feel the delicate hush of flax fibers against skin, the softness of spun linen beneath fingertips, this gentle craft, centuries old, comforting countless souls before you. Now, picture Eleanor stepping into the chateau's rose garden. Moonlight filters through arches of climbing white roses. You lean in to imagine the fragrance drifting into your own senses. A quiet owl glides overhead, its wing feathers brushing the sky in near silence. You hear its soft hoot, a greeting to the night. In this garden, Eleanor remembers visiting Eleanor of Provence centuries later. No, wait. Imagine his voice echoing through the garden low and warm. Your eyelids begin to feel heavy, like petals falling slowly. Feel the weight of your body here in the present. I am calm. I am safe. I drift. Repeat it in your mind, slowly, softly, letting your breath flow with each word. Imagine Eleanor whispering the same to herself and to you. A soft, royal vow to protect, rest, and peace, born of centuries-old wisdom and kindness. Our final scene glimmers with quiet warmth. Eleanor opens a small wooden door into her private sitting chamber. You take your place beside a low, cushioned bench, leaning gently against soft fabric. Your eyelids feel like velvet, heavy but comforting, so calm, so safe. As dawn peeks over the rolling hills of Aquitaine, soft gold begins to touch the edge of the chateau's towers. Eleanor is already awake, sitting quietly by the window. She has always loved this hour, when the world is mostly still, and dreams linger like mist. In the 12th century, hair was often considered a symbol of a woman's inner virtue, and noble ladies like Eleanor wore theirs long and loosely braided at home. You can almost hear the soft rasp of the comb, the rustle of fabric as she dresses in a gown dyed with madder root and laced with golden ribbon. A single beeswax candle glows in a niche. Its scent is sweet and comforting. She kneels, not to recite prayers in rote, but to listen. And perhaps imagine her brushing her hair with a carved boxwood comb, long honey gold strands catching early sunlight, a secret refuge from the noise of court and politics. Books were rare then, precious, copied by hand by monks in scriptoriums, each letter penned in careful, sacred silence. Here, vines twisted up worn stone walls, birds nested in the hedges, and ivy grew over the old sundial, whose markings had long faded with time. Let the gentle rhythm of brushing guide your breath. Long strokes, long breaths, long thoughts. She listened, she remembered, she chose her words like a gardener selects seeds, and those seeds often grew into stories, alliances, and songs. Her land, richer and more vibrant than even the King-S, became part of a world she would soon influence deeply. But she was never overwhelmed, not Eleanor. She steps into her private chapel, a quiet alcove with cold stone floors and thick velvet hangings to hold in warmth. A robin chirps once, then hops along a branch. She was the kind of queen who understood that stillness could command more than shouting ever could. You can hear the leaves fluttering gently above her head, just as your thoughts begin to flutter, too light as paper, free as wind. The stone walls draped in tapestries, candles lining the tables, and at the center, a musician strumming a lute tuned carefully to the softest tones. No, it was the love of the soul's ache, the longing glances, the poetry whispered in shadows. Not many knew of the hidden garden tucked behind the west cloister, but Eleanor did, a place she returned to again and again. Eleanor carries a slim, leather-bound book beneath her arm, a collection of Ovid's poetry in Latin. She settles into a bench, one hand resting on the book's worn cover, the other in her lap, a place where the sea whispered lullabies at the edge of the world. You can hear the gulls circling above, and the waves curling along the cliffs. She spoke little now. She didn't need to. At Fontevraud, Eleanor found what she had always sought, not silence, but peace. She brought with her over 300 women of noble birth, a procession of strength wrapped in silk and steel. These are the poems of longing and transformation, tales that soften the sharp edges of the world. The candle beside her burns low, casting flickers across a tapestry of stars and vines. The warmth of the fire reaches your toes, then your legs, then your chest, and remind her just as they remind us that even in medieval times, people carried quiet hearts full of dreams. As she reads, she smiles faintly. These are not sounds for waking, they are sounds for dreaming. Inside are tokens from her life, a carved comb, a ring, a single dried rose, the horse's hooves muffled by pine needles, snow beginning to fall. The cold doesn't bite Hish. The world is quiet, as if waiting for dreams to stir beneath the frost. Even as a young duchess, Eleanor knew she would wield power not with force, but with presence. You might think of queens as grand and commanding, but Eleanor's strength was quiet, like moonlight on water. At just 15 years old, she became Queen of France. Imagine her gliding through the courts of Paris, her silk skirts brushing polished floors, her voice calm and poised as she listens to monks debate theology or troubadours recite verse. As the queen of a land where troubadours thrived, Eleanor fostered courts of music, of poetry, of something called finamortha, refined love. This was not the love of marriage contracts or alliances. Let yourself drift for a moment into one of these gatherings. His voice is like a warm wind through olive trees. My lady wears grace like a crown unseen. Her silence speaks more sweetly than all my song. You feel each note like a drop of honey in your chest. Let it linger there. Let it soften you. Years later, Eleanor would ride across mountains from Burgundy to Antioch during the Second Crusade, wrapped in fur, surrounded by wind and stars. She rode not as a decoration, but as a leader, guiding, advising, organizing. Close your eyes and imagine the caravan winding through hills, and in the center rides Eleanor, cloaked in deep burgundy, her eyes calm, steady, forward-looking. Many years later, Eleanor would come to rest in a coastal Castle Fontevraud Abbey. The abbey walls are thick and old, warmed by the breath of centuries. In the evenings, she walked among the herb gardens, rosemary, thyme, and rue trailing her fingers across leaves kissed by dew. Her stories were already sown into the land, into the stones, into the souls of her children, like Richard the Lionheart, who would one day rest beside her. Imagine that quiet garden, the slow swing of the incense burner at vespers, the distant toll of the abbey bell. Back in the abbey's guest hall, a fire crackles softly. Eleanor sits near it, wrapped in a thick cloak of wool dyed a soft moss green. With each breath, the firelight seems to slow, to deepen, to wrap around your heart like velvet. She opens a small wooden box beside her. She closes the lid gently, as if to say, "It's enough now." You can feel her story closing too, but not with an end, with rest. High in a tower above Fontevraud, Eleanor kept a small writing room, a space few ever saw. The walls were lined in books, stitched by hand, written in Latin, Provencal, or Norman French. There were rolls of vellum, quills trimmed with patience, and ink made from oak galls and rainwater. The page before her glows softly, as if inviting her secrets to unfold. She writes not for courts, not for kings, but for herself. The scent of old parchment filled the room like a warm, woody perfume. You can almost smell it now, deep, dry, and faintly sweet. She sits with her lamp low. Sleep is the ink now. Margins decorated with golden vines, rabbits in robes, or dragons curled like sleeping cats. Illuminated manuscripts were more than books, they were windows into the sacred and the whimsical. Outside her writing room is the abbey's scriptorium where nuns copied texts in peaceful silence. At night, when the sisters slept, Eleanor would wander quietly there, as if the room itself was a cathedral of dreams. One illustration shows a knight kneeling to a hedgehog in a crown. Eleanor smiles. You smile too. She danced in the courtyard that night, no crown, no duty, just a woman spinning beneath the stars. Let your thoughts drift like vellum, pages fluttering, gently held by still air. Each stitch, deliberate, precise, the pattern. A nightingale perched on a branch, a lion curled in sleep, a flirtulus spiraling outward, a festival long ago in Bordeaux. It was midsummer. The air was heavy with the sweetness of wine, of ripening figs, of joy. Let your thoughts spin like that, slowly, lightly, with no destination but stillness. She plucks one apple gently, polishes it on her sleeve, and bites. By moonlight, Eleanor would often return to another quiet comfort needlework, who longed for quiet in a noisy world. A hoop of linen stretched taut in her lap, threads dyed in shades of saffron, indigo, and cochineal. Needlework in the Middle Ages wasn't just art, it was devotion, a meditation made of threads. You, too, ask the moon a question, not with words, but with breath, and the moon answers in silence. That soft, deep knowing that slips into dreams. Imagine the feel of it in your hands, the tiny pull as the needle moves in and out, the rhythm like breath, like tide, like heartbeat. A silver bowl of rosemary and sage on the windowsill, a little wooden icon with a painted dove, and her breath, always steady, always serene. She listened to birdsong in the early morning and let it carry her spirit beyond the walls. At age 49, she was imprisoned by her husband, King Henry II, for over 15 years. But even then, her strength never left her. She once embroidered the edge of her travel cloak with a row of stars. All this from her rooms at Fontevraud. Her voice still carried, her mind still guided, her soul still stirred gently. To keep the night close, she said. You feel those stars now, soft on your skin, quiet on your shoulders. In another time, in another place perhaps, in the fortress of Chinon, Eleanor walks an orchard. It is autumn. The crunch is soft. The flavor is crisp and sweet, with a hint of spice. In medieval times, apples were dried and stored for winter, spiced with cinnamon or clove, and steeped in cider for warmth. You can almost taste the cider, now warm, fragrant, calming. The orchard path leads nowhere in particular, and that's all right. Sometimes the soul needs to wander with no destination. Do they remember, she asks softly, the women who came before me, who dreamed as I do? The moon says nothing, but a breeze lifts her hair in reply. Her breath, now old but steady, is the same rhythm as yours. She smiles. Perhaps that is answer enough. You sit beside her in your mind. Years passed, and Eleanor's life took turns even she could not have predicted. They kept her in castles, Winchester, Sarum, others, but she found peace wherever she could. When she was finally released, she did not return with anger. She returned with purpose. She arranged royal marriages, negotiated treaties, and ruled as regent, while her son King Richard journeyed on crusade. History remembers her as powerful. You are like Eleanor's favorite tree in the cloister courtyarder, tall cypress, always still, always reaching skyward. We return one last time to her quiet room at night. The fire has faded. The candle is low. Inhale, exhale, let go. She leans her head back and closes her eyes, not in sadness, not in grief, but in gentle surrender. Her last thoughts are of the ocean breeze, of lemon trees in Aquitaine, of lullabies sung by nursemaids long ago, of love, of peace, of rest. The candle flickers once, then fades. In a stone-walled courtyard, tucked behind the abbey kitchens, Eleanor often wandered through the herb garden. Their rows of chamomile and valerian swayed gently in the breeze. Lavender brushed against the sleeves of her cloak. Mint spread low to the ground in neat beds, humming with bees. In the 12th century, herbalism was a woman's wisdom. Healers would steep thyme for courage, lemon balm for sorrow, and mugwort for dreaming. Eleanor would walk with a basket, plucking a few sprigs here, a blossom there, creating satchels of dried herbs for sleep. Imagine her preparing a pillow sachet for you now, soft linen filled with crushed lavender, rose petals, and a trace of clove. She tucks it beneath your head, a smile, a whisper. Among them, an aged monk who studied the stars. The fabric glowed with silver thread by firelight. Eleanor would run her fingers over each star as he described the medieval understanding of the heavens. Sleep gently, she says, and you do. In her later years, Eleanor invited scholars to Fontainebleau. He brought with him a velvet cloth embroidered with constellations, Sirian, Cassiopeia, the Pleiades, of kings who saw comets as omens, and of one queen, Eleanor, who looked up not for signs, but for stillness. Back then, the sky was thought to turn in a great crystal sphere. The stars were angels, fixed in perfect order. Let yourself lie beneath that imagined sky, a sky that does not rush, that does not demand, only reveals. The monk whispers stories of sailors who steered by Polaris, a single bard, cloaked in gray wool, tuning a harp, and so do you. Once more, in Eleanor's memory, a voice sings, a quiet hall, the firelight low, nearby doves coo. The air is heavy with the scent of climbing roses. She walked the path of thorns and wine, her crown made not of gold, but time. The melody is soft, like a stream at twilight. Let it drift through you. Eleanor closes her eyes. So do you. She remembers every note. You don't need to. The music will remember you. There is a fountain in the abbey courtyard, round and worn with moss. Its water is cool, fed by a hidden spring beneath the earth. Eleanor comes to sit beside it near dusk. She lowers her hand into the water, feels the pulse of the natural world, the rhythm of something deeper than words. She gazes at her reflection in the water, but instead of age, she sees all her selves at once. The laughing child of Aquitaine, but how you are beneath the surface, still, whole, complete. The clever queen of France, the fearless traveler on crusade, the poet's muse. Is unrequited love stronger than fulfilled love? Can true affection exist without jealousy? Does distance increase desire? The mother, rose petals scattered on the floor, sweet wine poured in carved cups, a cat sleeping on the steps of the dais. No one is in a hurry. There's nowhere to be but here, the ruler, the dreamer, and now the woman of peace. Eleanor rises from her seat by the fountain, and walks slowly through the cloisters, the bells call, guiding her with each echo. You see yourself in the water, to not how you appear in mirrors. The water ripples, and the truth remains. In the court of Poitiers, long before her imprisonment, Eleanor once gathered poets and philosophers for something remarkable, a court of love. There, the rules of love were debated as if they were laws. Eleanor presided in judgment with a gentle smile. The debates were serious yet never harsh, always poetic. Matins at night, lauds at dawn, vespers at dusk. These sacred rhythms gave shape to silence. Let your thoughts wander through that hall. The air hums with laughter and lute music. Let the questions of love drift like feathers light, soft, unanswered. She wrote not just of love and war, but of music, of learning, of kindness as strength. At twilight, the abbey bells ring, low and clear. Vespers, you hear it now. The shadows stretch long across the stones. The one that knows how to endure, how to rest, how to bloom. In medieval life, time was measured by prayer, not clocks. Her bed is carved oak, her sheets freshly laundered and scented with lavender. Let the bell's tone fill you now, a gentle vibration, dong. Each ring pulling you deeper into stillness. Before her final days, Eleanor wrote letters to her children and grandchildren. Some were instructions, others stories. One, however, was different. It began, "To the women who come after me." In that letter, Eleanor imagined a future where women would still be asked to be quiet, but would carry thunder in their hearts. She tucked it into a leather pouch, sealed it with wax, and asked that it be buried beneath the floor of the chapel. No one ever found it, but maybe that soft voice inside you. Now, we come at last to her final chamber. It is simple, peaceful, draped in linen and warmed by fire. She does not speak. She does not need to. Outside, the wind hushes the trees. Inside, the candle flickers low. Your breath matches hers. One inhale, one exhale, then sleep. Tonight, Eleanor opens an old cedar chest. Inside lie her robes from coronation's long past velvet brocade, cloth of gold. Their colors faded by time, their hems stitched with little flowers, birds, and suns. In the Middle Ages, embroidery told a story. Each thread a word, each pattern a prayer. She lifts one gown gently. The weight of it pulls against her arms, but she smiles. This one, she murmurs, was for the crowning of Richard. Imagine her smoothing the fabric across her lap, tracing the old stitches. The scent of cedar wood and aged silk fills the room. Not heavy, just enough to ground you in comfort. You sit beside her on the rug. A fire crackles. You watch her fold the robes, again like folding seasons, folding years, and you drift. By her bedside is a worn Psalter and illuminated book of Psalms. Inside every page glows with tiny pictures angels in flowing robes, saints with open palms, beasts from the corners of imagination. Its cover is leather soft, its corners gently cracked. One page shimmers brighter than the others. A sleeping lion crowned with lilies. A tower beside a river shaped like a sleeping woman. A dove carrying a scroll that says, "Peace waits beneath the stillest leaves." Eleanor turns the page slowly. The monks who made this book believed gold leaf could capture light from heaven, that to read by it was to invite holy dreams. Just let the shimmer of gold behind your closed eyelids guide you. Inward, downward, deeper. Tonight, you read too. Your eyes don't need to focus. Eleanor's sister, a name so often forgotten by history, but not by Eleanor's heart. She remembers braiding Petronilla's hair when they were little girls in Poitiers, both giggling and barefoot under the olive trees. In her mind's eye, she sees them again, running down garden paths, collecting snail shells, singing old Aquitaine rhymes. Bonus, Floretas, del Prat, good night, little flowers of the field. Petronilla was the first person Eleanor ever told a secret to, and the last person she wept for in the rain. You don't need to know the words of the rhyme. You just need to feel the rhythm like to sisters laughing under a summer sky. Like a lullaby before sorrow knew your name. There is another chest in her room, smaller, carved with roses, used not only to scent the skin but to soothe sadness, bring clarity, ease grief. Inside are tiny glass bottles wrapped in silk, sealed with wax. One holds spiced rose oil, a soft sweetness that lingers like memory, like a kiss on your hand from someone who's already gone. Another, myrrh and sandalwood. Another, a tincture of violet and honey. Perfume in the Middle Ages was both medicine and magic. Each step is measured, her breath a puff of fog. There is no sound but snow touching stone. No sound but your breath and hers, in perfect unison. Eleanor opens one and dabs the faintest trace on her wrist. You can almost smell it. She offers you one too. You choose the bottle shaped like a crescent moon, the scent, a mystery. But it calms you completely. The sisters of the Abbey have gathered in the great refectory, and Eleanor joins them tonight. You imagine snow brushing your cheeks, melting on your lashes, not cold, not sharp, light as down, silent as prayer. It gathers on the stone ledges, dusts the cloisters in white. Eleanor walks wrapped in wool. In the Middle Ages, snow was not just weather. It was a visitation stillness gifted from the heavens. She stops beneath an archway and gazes at the falling light. You are past a plate. Someone refills your cup. Bowls of warm barley stew, spiced almonds and dried figs. No kingdom lasts forever, she says, but snow falls anyway, softly, peacefully. Your heartbeat slows, just quiet. It is the feast day of Saint Hildegard. There is fresh bread on the table, softened with honey and milk. You sit with them now in dream. The table lit by candlelight, shadows dancing on the stone walls. In medieval abbeys, meals were often eaten in silence, but on feast days, laughter was allowed. Music hummed, voices rose like birdsong. Or simply imagine it written in soft ink, carried by air, forgotten by the mind, remembered by the soul. Imagine it now gentle voices, warm food, and a sense of complete belonging. No need to speak, just be. Her tomb in Fontevraud is carved with a sculpture not of her in sorrow, but in calm. Eleanor kept a bundle of letters tied with silk ribbon each, one unsent, one for Louis, her first husband, one for her daughter, Joanna, lost too soon, one for a troubadour whose name no one remembers. These letters weren't written to be read. She would take them out sometimes, untie the ribbon, unfold the parchment, and read them aloud to the wind. The abbey windows open, the candle flutters, the words float outward, never to return. Let this moment be a letter of your own, a message not meant for anyone, but still worthy of release, is simply rest. Whisper it if you wish. Now, dear listener, we come to the final chamber, not of stone, not of shadow, but of stillness. In your mind, Eleanor lies at peace, wrapped in linen, hands resting gently over her heart, eyes closed, a book in her hands. Imagine that. A queen who once ruled nations, who rode across deserts, who shaped the course of empires, sleeping and holding a book. That book is your story now, and its last chapter. There is a room in the abbey with only one purpose: light. Long wooden shelves hold rows of beeswax candles, hand-dipped, sweet-smelling. A small brazier in the corner keeps the room warm even in the depth of winter. Eleanor loved to walk there at dusk. She would light one candle just, one, then sit before it, eyes quiet, hands folded, breath slow. In medieval belief, fire was more than light. It was the breath of transformation, a soul's tiny flame mirrored in wax and wick. Tonight, you are with her. The candle burns low. It flickers, dips, then steadies. You watch the way it casts golden circles across the stone. You don't need to think. You only need to glow. In the kitchens, the nuns prepare a special recipe just for Eleanor's sleep. A hush falls over the stone corridors as it is brought to her bedside. A small cup of night wine, warm red wine steeped with cinnamon, clove, and a little poppy milk. They pour it into a carved wooden cup, its surface smoothed by years of gentle hands. In the 12th century, poppy was used carefully enough to ease the mind, never to silence it. Eleanor sips, her eyes closing slowly. She smiles. "This is how dreams open," she whispers. "And perhaps now, your own lips taste something warm, something ancient, something safe, not too sweet, not too bitter, just enough." There is a hidden wall behind the chapel's smooth stone, covered in carved names. Some are scratched by hand, others pressed with small chisels. Some names are barely readable, worn down by time. Eleanor walks there often. She traces the names of people no one remembers but her servants, healers, fellow travelers. One name belongs to a falconer who once taught her to read the sky. Another to a woman who gave her dried fruit when she wept in Sicily. You feel its echo like a heartbeat behind stone. "Not all monuments are statues," she says. You place your fingers on one of the names. This is how we are remembered, not with trumpets, but with gentle touch. One night, Eleanor dreamed of a white horse made of smoke. It stood on the edge of the sea, eyes made of starlight, mane flowing like drifting clouds. She stepped toward it, barefoot on the sand, and when she touched its neck, it knelt, offering her its back, moving beyond time. Together, they rode across the sky, not fast, not loud, but with the pace of breath. The stars parted for them. The wind bowed. She awoke in tears. It was the feeling, she said, of being carried. She rewrapped the scroll, kissed it once, and placed it back inside the wall. A woman's hand, asking the sky for safe birth, sweet milk, and a husband's return from war. Let yourself be carried now. No effort, no control. Just held, just lifted. You and the horse, smoke and light. During quiet renovations of the abbey's wall, Eleanor found a tiny scroll sealed in beeswax. The writing was almost faded away, but she could make out a date. 872, nearly 300 years before her birth. It was a prayer, not in Latin, but in Old French. Eleanor did not speak. There are so many voices history forgets, but not tonight. Tonight, the voice of that woman, long lost, finds your ear like a breeze through a narrow window. Gentle, simple, honest, she says. You are not alone, and you believe her. In the abbey chapel, beneath the altar, are carved angels, dozens of them, no two alike. They hold instruments, no longer known harps with no strings, flutes carved into stone, bells too small to ring. Eleanor used to sit there in early morning silence and imagine what they sounded like. Music you hear with your heart, she'd say. Close your eyes now. Can you hear the stone choir? Not loud, not even music in the way we know it, but rhythm, vibration, presence. Every so often, a swan passed by and nodded, the sound of being seen by something ancient and kind. Let that sound settle over you. A cloak of quiet. You have nothing to do, no one to impress. A hush that hums. One autumn evening, Eleanor dreamed again, this time of a barge, drifting down a silver river made of fog. No oars, no sail, just silence, and the steady motion of water moving beneath her. The boat was filled with cushions and old books. Candles floated beside it in bowls of ivory. There was no destination, and no need for one. This is where you are now. A night barge. You are lying on velvet, the river rocking you slightly. You are becoming the fog. You are becoming the current. You are already dreaming. It was said to have been woven by moonlight, a gift not for the day, but for the hours when dreams whispered truth. She wore it only when she wanted to remember who she was before thrones, before titles, before the world asked anything of her. Tonight, she drapes it over your shoulders, and suddenly, you remember too, not with facts or names, soft, certain, and light as breath, but with a feeling. You were always meant to rest. You were always meant to feel safe. This is the veil of sleep. Sometimes the abbey paths grew dark when the moon was hidden, and on those nights, Eleanor would light a line of small lanterns from her chamber to the herb garden, so the sisters walking for prayers would not stumble. The lanterns were simple clay bowls with floating wicks, but they flickered like stars fallen to earth. You walk that path now. Each light is a kindness, a memory of being helped, a moment someone made things easier. You step, and another lantern glows, and another is made of light. Not to look at herself, but to let the water show her what was not yet spoken, until your whole path, behind the abbey, hidden among the trees, is a round pond, so still it mirrors the moon perfectly. Eleanor would sit there at dawn. In medieval thought, water was both mirror and messenger, a surface, where truth revealed itself in ripples. You kneel beside the pond now. The surface is so calm. You see not just your face, but your rest, your breath, your softness. One ripple moves across the water, not disturbing you, just carrying you. Let it carry you further. Eleanor's grandmother told her stories by firelight, especially about the star-shaped pattern hidden in old southern tapestries. When you see the seven-pointed star, she said, you are near something sacred, just a mark that told you, here you may rest, here you are not hunted, here the sky is listening. It wasn't on maps, not in books. Tonight, Eleanor finds one of those tapestries in a box of relics. The star is still there, faded but whole. She smiles and lays it across your shoulders. They chose only flowers that open in moonlight, night blooming jasmine, moonflowers, white campion. You are wrapped in the woven star now. Let it hush your mind. Let it soften your limbs. Let it say without words, this is your place to dream. There is a garden that blooms only at night. Eleanor planted it in secret with the help of a gentle sister named Ameline. The garden was hidden behind a broken gate. Few ever saw it, but you do. You are there now, walking softly. The petals glow like whispers in the dark. The air smells like lullabies, and when enough sand fell, it would cause a tiny chime to ring at the bottom. And nothing here hurries. You sit on a low stone bench. A white moth brushes your cheek. You close your eyes, and you are part of the garden now, quiet, blooming in rest. Eleanor once had a bell made not to ring but to pour. It was an hourglass, sealed with silver, that let out a single grain of sand every second. Time, she said, doesn't strike, it hushes. You hold the hourglass now. Each grain of sand feels like a breath, a heartbeat, a kindness remembered. No alarms, no rush, only the certainty that everything happens gently when you are at peace, even time. In Eleanor's private chest, there was a bottle of ink, unlike any other black during the day, but shimmering silver when touched by candlelight. It was a gift from a Moorish scholar in Toledo, who taught her that ink, when blessed with powdered pearl, could hold light inside it. She wrote her most secret thoughts with it, poems, fears, hopes meant only to be read at night. You find one now. A page waiting beside a candle. You lift it, and words glow slowly into being. You are enough. You are becoming. You are held by stars. And then the letters fade. You don't need to read them again. They've already entered your dreams. It is said that once, during a long illness, Eleanor refused her jeweled coronet and asked the servants to bring her something else. A garland, but not of roses. She wanted one woven from dried lavender, rosemary, and pale barley straw, things of the earth. The things that never asked for gold. She wore it to bed every night until her fever passed. Tonight, you feel that crown placed gently on your head. No weight, no sparkle, only scent, only warmth, only the tender, grounding circle of belonging. You are crowned not for glory, but for rest. When the wind moves through the cloisters, it sings, not loudly, but if you're still and listening, it almost sounds like voices. Medieval builders believed arches could carry sound like water, that certain curves could catch a sigh and pass it along centuries. You sit now between two stone columns. You feel the wind on your cheek, cool but soft, and you begin to hear something. Maybe it's the echo of a prayer or a forgotten lullaby, or your own thoughts returning to you, transformed. You don't need to name it, only breathe it in, let it lull you. In a narrow room beneath the library, there lies a chamber no one visits anymore. It holds the things time left behind: worn slippers, broken combs, a cup with no handle, a small wooden fox. Eleanor liked to sit there sometimes, touching each object gently, as though it might remember her. We are all stories, she'd whisper, even when no one's telling them. You're in that room now. There's a blanket in the corner, soft, heavy, familiar. You wrap yourself in it, surrounded by forgotten things. And somehow, you don't feel forgotten at all. You feel seen. On the coldest nights, Eleanor wore a heavy blue cloak, stitched with tiny white crosses, one of them for the constellations she could name. But stars. A monk once told her they weren't crosses, and she smiled. Then I wear the sky, she said. Tonight, you wear it too. The stars shimmer, not with light, but with memory. The cloak wraps around your shoulders like dusk itself. You lie back and feel the whole sky hold you. You're not falling asleep. You're rising into dream. In the hills near Fontevraud, Eleanor once walked a winding trail where villagers left small stones each, one representing a prayer, a hope, or a simple thank you. She loved the feel of the cool pebbles beneath her fingers. Each step, each stone, reminded her she was not alone in longing, not alone in gratitude. Tonight, you walk that path. With each breath, you place a pebble, a silent wish, a soft release. One for rest, one for peace, one for love that lingers, even when unspoken. The path wins on. But you no longer need to walk. The earth remembers your feet, and the prayer is answered in stillness. There was a cup in Eleanor's chamber, carved with tiny runes. No one knew their exact meaning, but when filled with warm milk and held beneath the hearthlight, a traveling monk once told her, "This cup remembers every hand that ever lifted it." So she drank from it, slowly, mindfully, with eyes half closed. Tonight, you are offered that cup. Its warmth presses into your palms. The milk is laced with honey and violet, and as you sip, the quiet memory of others who've rested joins you. You are part of the long line now. You are no longer just one. You are joined in sleep. Beneath it, a patch of moss grows thick and velvet-like. There's a willow tree in the far cloister garden. Eleanor would lie there on warm evenings, the long willow fronds brushing her cheek like lullaby fingers. She once said, "It is the only bed that listens." You are lying there now. The moss breathes beneath your back. The willow shields you from wind and worry. Above, the stars barely peek through. But that's all right. In one tower chamber, the walls were lined not with books, but with tapestries. Each told a different story. A lioness who ruled a castle, a sailor who slept for 100 years, a queen who traded her crown for a flute. Eleanor loved that room. When I can't sleep, she'd whisper, I'd just pick a thread and follow it. Tonight, you pick one. It's golden, soft, cool to the touch. And as you follow it with your fingers, the world around you changes. The walls soften, and you are no longer here. You're inside the story now, and it will carry you gently. On her writing desk, Eleanor kept a small wooden box filled with feathers. No gold, no jewels, just feathers collected across decades, each one tied with a silk thread and a date. A swan feather from the Loire, a falcon feather from Poitiers. One pale blue, one never labeled, just marked with a heart. She called it her box of quiet wind. And now you open that box. One feather floats upward, as if lifted by memory. It circles you once, then twice, then rests gently near your pillow. Tonight, your dreams have wings, and they are light. So light. There was a small storeroom near the kitchens, always cool and dim, where Eleanor kept her apples. Not just for eating, but for remembering. Green ones from her childhood orchard in Aquitaine, blushing ones gifted by Cistercian monks. One, golden and dimpled, from a tree she planted herself. The scent, she whispered once, is the memory of sunlight. You step into that room. The air is fragrant, soft, clean, slightly sweet, like walking through a memory garden. You sit among the baskets wrapped in their scent, and you fall asleep, slowly, as if picked gently by the hand of the earth. A soft woolen shawl traveled with Eleanor through France, England, and the Holy Land, not because it was beautiful, but because it had been worn by her nursemaid, her daughter, and a healer she once met beside a ruined chapel. It held warmth and the hush of prayers never written down. She never washed it, tonely folded it carefully between lavender sprigs. Now it is wrapped around you. It smells like campfires and time and a mother's arms. You don't have to move. The shawl does the holding. You are safe. You are soft. You are home. There is a single candle in Eleanor's chamber, untouched by wax drips or time. It's said to have been blessed by a woman in Jerusalem, a candle that never burns down, only waits. Eleanor only lit it when her heart was tired, not from sadness, but from holding too much. Tonight, she lights it for you. Its flame is low, round, golden. It flickers, not with urgency, but understanding. You lie in its glow now. No shadows move, no rush of heat, only the presence of something steady. Sleep knows this light, and it waits for you to follow. Among her many books, Eleanor kept one with no words, just hollowed-out pages that cradled soft objects, a shell, a thimble, a crumpled love note. Some things, she said, don't want to be read, they want to be held. You open that book now, and your thoughts quiet. Inside, a single sprig of dried heather, a blue ribbon, and a smooth river stone. You touch each. The book closes, but you still hold its feeling. The story lives in your hands now, and your dreams turn its silent pages. They say, in the far tower of the abbey, there hangs a bell no one ever rings, because it sounds only in dreams. Eleanor dreamed it once as a child's soft bronze, low and round, like the earth humming. She believed if you heard it, true sleep would find you, not rest from the body, but from the mind. Tonight, you hear it, just once, a single note. It blooms in your chest like light through a window. And then, nothing. Not silence, not sound, just the space where worry used to be.